Hi, this is Kay Novak, and this is my report for module number 3, MyMOOC, or developing a PLN out of a massively open online course. This is my PLE. If you take a look at it, open courses are kind of off to the side. There's something new that I've been looking at. And this is the latest part of my PLE. It's actually a Moodle course. It started on September 15th. It has over 1,200 registered people, but only 190 have introduced themselves in the Please Introduce Themselves section. It is facilitated by Stephen Downs, George Seaman, Dave Cromer, and Rita Cope. And it's huge, and I wanted to see over these 2 weeks how I could contribute and even create during it. Now here's the Creative Commons, so you know I could take the last picture. And this is where I'm contributing. A Second Life group actually formed to discuss what is happening inside the course. And that class, it meets twice weekly, and they go into Illuminate Chat and into Second Life. And here's the wiki that was started up by the group. And here's how I'm trying to relate this whole thing to my personal learning environment. I'm taking the Second Life group, and I'm in Twitter, WordPress, and Wiki spaces. But what I followed for this report is Twitter and the WordPress. So my Twitter is Kaysanovka, and here are my tweets for this 2-week period. Out of these tweets, I found I tweeted 11 times with the hashtag for the class, and I found out of these 11, there was only one that was actually a retweet. Everything else was trying to go ahead and to push out information and get more people involved. The other thing I used was a WordPress, Center for Edupunk, and this is something that I do with some other people, but I use this as my blog portion. Now, for the blog post, I found that I did lots of responses when it came to blogs. I didn't do that many original. I only did 2 original, and the rest were responding to something that someone else put up. And this is one of the examples. Someone in the group put up a TED Talk, and I went in, I put up another TED Talk, and I discussed it a little bit more and also suggested some terms, and again, also promoted the group. Now, the Twitter analytics that I used were Twitter Analyzer, Twitter Counter, and Tweet Effect. And this is what I found out about me, that these are where I tweet from. TweetDeck, Hootsuite, and just a little bit from the web. When it comes to the subjects, it is about virtual worlds, it's about learning, it's about mobile, and I did manage to get the hashtag in there quite a bit. Now, when it comes to this, the MOOC hashtag, PLENK 2010, was the most popular hashtag that I had there. This is a graphic of how my tweets went over the 2-week period. As you can see, I had quite a peak on September 23rd. And if you look at these graphs, and this is where I took information from the other analytics and then went and used those, you'll see that on the 23rd and then again on the 27th, I had quite a spike when it came to tweeting. And this is the reach, and so this is the estimated number of readers. And these are the basics for my Twitter account: 486 followers, 286 following. My ranking, not so great. But this is one of the analytics that I really did enjoy. You'll see Thursday is very high. That's because Learn Chat shows up on Thursdays, and it's actually a Twitter group that goes on for an hour and a half. There's 4 questions, and you tweet your responses to those. And Tweet Effect was a really fun analytic. It told me when I would lose followers, and I found out if I go on to Learn Chat and I talk about MOOCs, I lose followers. Otherwise, I keep them. My next one is WordPress. And WordPress, I use Google Analytics. And if you take a look at these Google Analytics, you can see that I found some compelling data. It was really interesting to see where the majority of people were coming to my site. A lot of them were typing the URL into their browser, or they had bookmarked it. My viewership was very broad. I even had 7 visits from the Ukraine, which is more than I thought. although I did have a high bounce rate. And I will tell you, since September 20th, there have been 140 visits to the site and 229 page views. And the average person spent almost a minute and a half viewing content on the site, and 58%, almost 58% of the viewers were new. Now, most of my visitors were from the US, 82, Australia 20, and Canada 11. Now, this really gave me lots and lots of information. The constraint that I really had with this is the more data I got, the more I wanted. And I really like to see the diversity of viewership that it was generating. And I know the high bounce rate is negative, but that's something that I think I can really work on. And you know what I really liked about Google Analytics is that I could really, while I used to claim it's read by hundreds of lurkers daily, it was encouraging to see that somebody actually read things, that I actually had proof that someone at all was reading this. So Google Analytics and the Twitter Analytics really made me look at things and really think about the idea about a PLE and a PLN again, because a tool could really make a difference. Now, when Dr. Dolly was talking about Twitter, she was saying, as far as her followers, that she thinks the amount of useful information, I think, was inversely related to the number of followers she had. Well, after reading more about connectivism, it's starting to make me wonder if the good nodes, if the people who are the hubs of the network, the influential nodes, if they haven't started to adapt to all this information and all this garbage, and maybe they're not following people as much. Perhaps what they're doing is they're finding good tools that will help them follow keywords or searches rather than follow people. So they might be adjusting according to their tools, because Twitter really isn't the follow me and I'll follow you anymore. So I think TweetDeck and other apps that allow people to poll based on keywords and hashtags are going to become more popular. And I'm really waiting to see an analytic who can tell me how many searches I showed up on and how many keyword searches I showed up on. So as far as my participation in Twitter and blogging based on these analytics, it's encouraged me. I now see that someone at all is reading it, and it's going to make a huge difference for me. It's also going to make me very aware of what keywords I'm using and how exactly I'm going to fit those in. So I think, if nothing else, it's going to make me more reflective about this whole thing. Now, as far as the MOOC that I'm taking, 1,200 contributors, and I have to figure out how to sort through all this information. Well, in that sense, with all the other things I'm looking at, I am using a couple different tools. And here's what I'm using for linkages. I'm using TweetDeck, there is a daily grasshopper, and I'm using the MOOC in general. TweetDeck I love. I pick the keywords and I search through there. I go through those quickly and continue on. And yes, I am following Steve Downes, George Siemens, and Dave Comer, and Rita Cope was the only person I wasn't following prior to this. So this is my dream tool for distributed cognition, and I use it as an aggregator rather than really using Google. And I really trust my network to tweet when they blog or if they find something interesting. Now, Grasshopper is something Steve Downes developed, and it's fantastic. It's his own hub. It's his own aggregator. He pulls a daily listserv from all of our RSS feeds, as long as we put them on there, and the hashtag, and then he sends a daily email out to the listserv. And last but not least, I use the Moodle site because I know how to use these things. So when it comes to my personal learning environment and how I'm coping, this is how it ends up: Twitter, WordPress, and Wikispaces. So that was my presentation, and thank you.